that next team up is Macarthur Bulls. Last season, they finished eighth with a record of 9 wins, 6 draws, 11 losses. Only won 2 games from February after they lost several key players in the January transfer window. Jed Drew, Piol, Oliver Jones, and Valerie Germain all left, and obviously only won twice at home as well as another damning statistic. If I look at their crowd numbers, aren't that crash hot either. But I think this year there might be some promise for those fans out there. They averaged 4,662, and they won the Australia Cup last year, beating Melbourne Victory. But this year were knocked out in the semis by the Jets, and they were just a little bit slightly unlucky. Their Asian Champions League 2 commenced at the same time when they were facing the Jets in a short space of time. So they had to kind of juggle those 2 big games. And unfortunately, they lost both of them. But I think this year, Macarthur, with their ins and outs, are looking very promising and have 4 Socceroos that have played that'll obviously strengthen this side. I think they're definitely going to be on the move this year. And let's look at the ins and outs.
Just before I get to that, I think I had them obviously booked in to go back to back in the Australia Cup until the Jets knocked them out. I think a big challenge for them this season will be balancing their ACL2 commitments. They've already played a couple of games in that competition already, but they're just going to have to manage their squad. But I think they have recruited pretty well with that in mind. So in terms of the ins, Jidong Wan comes over from Suwon FC. Anthony Caceres, a big in with his experience coming from Sydney FC. A couple of boys from Melbourne City in Callum Talbot and Harry Politides. And then we've got a few players on scholarship contracts, that being Zane Helwa, Will Mackay, and Sebastian Krizlovic. And Simir Gujan, Damien De Silva comes in. Plenty of experience from Damien De Silva, obviously formerly of Melbourne Victory. Rafael Duran Martinez, and then one of their latest signings, Luke Vickery, who comes across from Western United. Their outs, a few key ones really. Keely Adamson comes out. Obviously, he got his move to QPR, but Callum Talbot's probably like-for-like replacement there. Even Buita played a lot at left-back last season, so we'll see what plans they've got for him. Danny De Silva, Jan Nicolou, Peter Makalos, Jake Holman got his move over to Warsaw in England. Kevin Bowley, Saif Eden Kaui, and Maran Yakulish. He's probably a big loss. He was a weapon down that left for them. So they made a couple of smart re-signings as well with Luke Bratton and Matt German, probably the pick of those re-signings. So I think they've consolidated pretty well. As I said, as you said, Michael, they fell away from January onwards last season when they lost some of those key players. But I think they've recruited reasonably well, and obviously with these ACL2 games in mind, trying to balance what they need to do at both competitions.
Yeah, I think the 4 former Socceroos, not in the current squad, Caceres, Bratton, German, and Economides are huge players for them, and I think their experience will put them up at the pointy end of the table. They're probably the second highest team with the most amount of former Socceroos in the A-League, and a couple of under-20s players didn't make the squad but were in the previous Asia Cup squad as well on their books. So I think they've got a really nice balance, and I think they're going to be really solid this year, and I think they're going to be challenging Auckland. I don't think they can catch them, but I reckon Macarthur, I've tipped them to come second this year, runners up. And I don't think being in the Asian Champions League 2 will be benefit. They've had a good 3-0 win there over Beijing, Guan, and they're looking really good. And I reckon that semi-final in the Han Cup probably just come at the wrong time for them with their Asia Cup campaign starting. And they look very solid football team, and I think the potential's there to be right up the top this year.
Yeah, I've got them third, mate. I think they're going to be right up there as well. A couple of players that I wanted to mark out to watch: Alex Robinson, the keeper, and Oliver Randazzo. Our friends Delhi was part of that under-20 Asian Cup winning squad, but didn't make the World Cup squad. And Bernardo Oliveira, who has had his injury problems, been a little bit in and out, but I think he might be able to have a breakout season this season. Let's have a look at also at their first 5 games, and we've added in some of those ACL2 games for some context as well. So they start off with Brisbane, and then they're going to play first game of their third game will be of their ACL2 campaign in Vietnam, and then playing Adelaide United, the Wanderers. And then they've got another ACL2 game that one's at home though, and then Sydney FC and Wellington. So I suppose in terms of their campaign as a total, the fact that that second ACL2 game is at home and they play the Wanderers and Sydney FC between those two, so not a lot of trouble for them. So that's at least something for them. But they are really going to have to find that balance. But I think they're very promising this season.